The universe is you. It contains the lyric "Read My Lips," and funnily enough, I actually wrote it originally for "Take Me Home" and then didn't use it for that. So it'd been running around for a little while. It was almost a coincidence that it's in the track and the album title, because I'm not very keen on picking a song title as an album title, because I think it's almost like favouritism for that track.
I do actually agree with what I said. I feel the same. The logic's the same. I still don't like the favouritism of a favourite song being the title. Although I did do it on my 4th record, but I just was like, sod it, I like it.
And thank God, really, because I think writing songs and going, yeah, that's a hit, would be really ghastly, and I don't really want to lose the fact that I don't know how to do that.
I don't know if I phrased that in the right way, but I think I know what I'm getting at, which is the thing about the unexpected and just doing something for the joy of doing it without a plan has always served me quite well. And I agree with that. I don't know if I agree with the bit where I said, I'm quite glad I don't know how to write it. I was hungover when I filmed that interview. Sometimes my brain cells were maybe like struggling a tiny bit.
Murder's been a really great little ambassador for the album, and I have to admit it, there's something really satisfying about the fact that after Groove Jet they were able to like, oh, so how are you going to follow that up? And on the next album there's a song that became even more successful, and it's great to know that people are now going, oh, how are you going to follow up Murder? And you're like, well, you know, you were asking me that about Groove Jet, and so that was really unexpected. I mean, Murder was just, you know, and it was the second single. I mean, if we thought it was going to be like this massive song, I'm sure it would have been the first one. So that was a real nice surprise.
I actually agree with a lot of that I remember that feeling of it being like, how are you going to follow up Groove Jet, and then being like, oh, I've had a song as a solo artist that's been quite defining. And of course it made me chuckle when Murder had a resurgence a couple of years back, and people are like, how are you going to follow up Murder? And I'm like, we've had this conversation like a couple of decades ago. I'm good. Plus ça change, plus c'est la même chose.
Over the years I've realised that I really want to be successful rather than popular. Having said that, because I enter into things with that kind of attitude, I seem to get a really great response from people when I go out, and it makes me feel really cool. Like when I film, like, hey Sophie, beep beep, you know, the car horns and stuff, which is great.
What's funny about that is that I'm being really honest. I don't feel identical to that anymore, actually. I think over the years, the arrogance dims, because when you're young, you don't question things in the same way, because you're sort of dealing with a more binary way of working. Whereas when you get older and experience, you sort of realize the unlikelihood of your own story. So I think it makes you more, I think you get more humble to how lucky you've been. I like the bit about being in a film as well. Hey Sophie. I still have those moments now. I'll be like, yay, this is the credit roll moment. Good times.
I'm not really sure how far I am into my career. I mean, I know that I want to, at one point, make an album that I feel is the absolute best that I can do. It's me at my toppermost output, you know, great stuff. That might be the next album. Probably won't be, but it might be the next album. It might be my 6th album. And whenever I've done that, that might be time to stop. But maybe I'll never feel like I've got there, so it's difficult to tell. I certainly feel like I've got a long way to go, and I've learnt so much just from this album as another stage. And yeah, it's always a chapter, and there's always a progression in music in general, and I'm very influenced by what's happening in the charts and what's coming, you know, I don't know, new things like The Strokes or The Streets, or there's just stuff all the time, and you think, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what happened if you met that with that, and just seeing where you can go with it. So I might be one of those people that gets to 60 and still doesn't feel like they've quite reached the point where they want to stop.
I actually feel like that was quite an unfair question I'd been asked, because I'd obviously been asked, how long do you think you'll be doing this? So I'm sort of doing, I don't know, another album, maybe more than that. I'd like to do more than that. I don't know how I feel. I mean, look, I now do know I won't do anything else, and I've known that for a really long time. But I think this other half of my brain is remembering that I've never liked talking about plans. Even now, if someone says, like, we're going to do this, like, not next year, but the year after, I'm like, too much. I can sort of deal within about a year's time frame.
I'm supposed to be looking after the camera today, but I forgot to record anything.
Sounds about right.
So now I'm with you after the gig. We've been in Edinburgh, it went really well. I'm going to show you how to on the bus.
I was getting distracted.
Smooth operator. That's Richard. How was the gig? Yeah. How was the gig tonight, Richard?
It was thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah.
Looks like
Good crowd.
Yeah.
Quite intimate. Nice sound. Could hear exactly what everyone was playing. Everyone played very well. Sophie did very well.
Thank you very much.
Well, it's funny seeing it now. I'm like, look at that young boy. I mean, we're both like 21, 22. He's still as appreciative of good sound after a gig. And if I was given a camera to record some footage, I'd probably still forget to until after the gig.
I'm in heaven, I'll show you heaven, so much heaven.
I like the way it's quite cheeky and quite knowing. For me, the power of music first showed itself to me when I was about 15, 16. I used to go out every Friday night, and when you first got to the club, you might be all a bit sheepish, but when the song comes on, you can take the whatever the singer is saying and make it your own speech. And I'm always like that. Whenever I'm dancing, I always sing along to everything and kind of act it out. So Take Me Home is about that kind of power. You can borrow the lyrics and Take Me Home as a speech and use it to make you feel all powerful, and then when the song finishes, you can go back to feeling sheepish again.
Sheepish is such a funny word to use. What did I mean? Sheepish. I think I hadn't actually seen that clip since I talked about it that way. And even though I wouldn't phrase it in any way similar now, it's funny what doesn't change in yourself, isn't it? That ability for music to empower. I think now I talk about it like an invisible cape or shoulder pads. It can just make you feel like a little bit more in your own space. And actually, I'd still do that now. But when I stop the song, I don't go back to being sheepish.
The audience was, I suppose, a crash course in everything I needed to know about music and performing and being in a band, what to do, what not to do.
True that.
I think I wouldn't be the same solo artist without that band experience.
100%.
I wouldn't regard live work in the same way. I think for a lot of solo artists, the live thing must be really intimidating, particularly if you do music like me where it's quite programmed and electro-based. But for me, it was the opposite. I knew that the live thing was going to work. I knew how to take keyboard sounds and program drums to the live thing. And
What am I
I
talking
think,
about?
yeah, if I hadn't done that, it would have been really scary.
Oh,
But it wasn't.
literally,
It was something I was
I
looking
still don't know
forward to.
what all the buttons do. That made me sound like a real producer, sort of polymath. I know how to take program drums and put them on that stage. I think what I'm hoping, is I trust in the process. And I definitely agree, firstly, that I wouldn't have approached anything in my career without the failure and the crash course of the first band. And secondly, I think there's two types of solo artists. There's ones who sing accompanied with a band and ones who sing like they're part of the band. And I've always been a part of the band kind of gal. It's what makes me happy. And that's because I started out in a band. So I like to feel anchored within it. And there's not a right or a wrong, it's just how I do it. And that has not changed.